with prayer. Please, shall we be upstanding as we say the opening prayer? Mone me ka fora dineke esi mone me ka fora dineke esi Almighty God, you are the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. It is you who declare and delegate some power and authority to men and women of your choice, including national political leaders. Righteous Father, we thank you for blessing our nation to be a beacon of democracy in the sub-region. Thank you for allowing us to call upon you in our times of need as a nation. Thank you, Lord, for your bountiful blessings. We are grateful and we bless your holy name. You are robed in majesty and armed with strength. The world stands firm and cannot be shaken. We praise your name, Father, forever and ever. You have all wisdom and power. You control the course of world events. You give wisdom to the wise and knowledge to the scholars. You reveal deep and mysterious things, and only you know what is hidden in darkness, though you are surrounded by light. We thank you that as Christian Service University celebrates 50 years for your faithfulness and sustaining grace, we have the privilege to have His Excellency former President Mahama and the flag bearer of the NDC to share his rich experience in sustaining democracy in our beloved Ghana. Thank you, Lord, for bringing him and his entourage safely here. Continue to endow him with all the wisdom he needs to perform his duty today and all other duties you will give him in the future. May your grace abound to him and to us all. Lord, take your rightful place and direct all things for your glory and our blessing. As you superintend over this public lecture, pour your love on our nation, Ghana. May peace prevail. May accountability prevail. May truth prevail. May unity prevail. May our democracy rise to a higher level in Ghana and affect the sub-region, Africa, and the world at large. And now, Father, strengthen your Son and use him to be a blessing to us all. At this lecture, deepen our knowledge in democracy and further strengthen our resolve to use democratic means for nation building and self-actualization. We humbly plead, O Lord, that your Spirit will take control of every situation and every person. Lord, that you raise your mighty hand upon us. You keep us safe under the wings. Oh Lord, take full charge to bless, to enlarge, and to make Ghana strong. These and other mercies we ask, even through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Please, let's be standing as we take the national anthem, please.
Ghana, and make our nation great and strong, both to defend forever for the cause of freedom and of right. Fill our hearts with true humility. Make us cherish fearless honesty, and help us to resist oppressors true with all our will and might forevermore. And help us to resist oppressors true with all our will and might forevermore.
Aren't you proud to be a Ghanaian? We have such a wonderful anthem. God bless Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to a very critical part of today's program. Christian Service University is the 10th university, private, fully chartered university in Ghana. And we have the head to come and address us. Ladies and gentlemen, with an applause, let's welcome the first Vice Chancellor of Christian Service University, Professor Samuel Kofi Afrani, to welcome us.
His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, former President and guest speaker of this public lecture. Please, the President has a lot of things to do, so allow. Distinguished members of his entourage, convocation, staff and students, alumni of the university, friends of the media, ladies and gentlemen. I am so delighted to welcome all of you to this public lecture, which is part of the 50th anniversary celebration of this institution. Please permit me to extend a special welcome to His Excellency President John Mahama, to our humble and modest campus. Indeed, it's a privilege and honor for us to host His Excellency. His Excellency, you are most welcome. The Christian Service University was established 50 years ago as a Bible college. In 2005, it transformed into a university college under the mentorship of University of Ghana and University of Cape Coast. This year, the institution has been granted the presidential charter, which makes it the 10th private university in Ghana to become autonomous with the powers to award its own certificates, diplomas, and degrees. His Excellency, it will interest you to note that the university has produced many distinguished personalities, and these include persons like Most Reverend Professor Emmanuel Asante, the former chairman of the Peace Council of Ghana, and also Right Reverend Professor J.O.Y. Mante, the immediate past moderator of the Presbyterian Church of Ghana, and the list can continue. As part of the 50th anniversary celebration, the university has decided to organize 2 major public lectures and to invite the presidential candidates of the 2 major political parties in Ghana, the National Democratic Congress and the New Patriotic Party, to speak on 2 very important topics to the nation. Ladies and gentlemen, this distinguished lecture is a testament to the university's commitment to fostering intellectual inquiry and curiosity, academic excellence, and the pursuit of knowledge. Today, we welcome His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the former president and the presidential candidate for the National Democratic Congress, to speak on the topic sustainability of democracy in Africa, the Ghanaian experience. On behalf of the council, management, staff, and students of the university, I want to thank His Excellency the President, former President of the Republic, and the presidential candidate of the National Democratic Congress, and his team for honoring our invitation and accepting to join us today. May God bless His Excellency. Distinguished guests, Ghana's democracy under the Fourth Republic is over 30 years now. The benefits of democracy, of democratic governance of a nation is significant. The objective of this university for this public lecture is to partner with all the political giants of this nation to conceptualize new ways of sustaining the democracy practice in Ghana, and for that matter, the whole of Africa. All the politicians in this nation have divergent opinions on sustainability of democracy. As a university, we appreciate our role as a convergent point of diversity, talent, and innovation, and one-stop shop for youth development. Therefore, we have invited His Excellency to share his views on this important topic to help the youth of this nation to appreciate the new ways to help sustain the democracy as we are all enjoying today. Indeed, it is my sincere hope that at the end of this lecture, all participants here and the nation at large will have developed a deep awareness and interest in the new ways of sustaining our democracy and how we can offer our talents, skills, and energies to ensure the consolidation of our democracy as a shining example to the rest of the African continent. Invited guests and all gathered here, permit me to digress a little bit. Private universities have been established to assist the human resource development of this dear nation of ours. We have helped to educate students who could not gain admission to the universities because public tertiary educational institutions lack the capacity to accommodate all our youthful population. In areas where certain specialized courses are not offered by the public universities, private universities fill these gaps and ensure a more comprehensive educational coverage and opportunities for many. However, it is an established fact that the potentials of private universities in Ghana remain not fully tapped to the benefit of this nation. In fact, some private universities are struggling for survival due to their inability to enroll more students to make them viable educational entities. We believe with some kind of support, private universities will not only enhance human resource development, but will also contribute to the economic development of the nation through employment creation, attraction of foreign students, and research and innovation. These are some of our thoughts about tertiary education in Ghana, which we want to share with His Excellency President Mahama as an aspiring president of Ghana. His Excellency, as part of the 50th anniversary celebration, This university is embarking on accomplishing the following projects, or some projects, to enhance teaching and learning of students. The first is, we want to acquire a 60-seater bus for the nursing and midwifery department, so that it will facilitate the clinical training of these students. We need to take them to the hospitals and bring them back, and we need a bus to help us do that. Secondly, we want to install solar energy to reduce our dependence on the national grid. All of us here assembled know that Ghana is having problem with what? Generational, yes. And we hope and pray that if we install solar energy, it will help to reduce not only our problem, but that of the nation. Management will very much appreciate your support, and all of us here assembled, in funding any of the above projects. Once again, on behalf of the University Council, management, staff, and students, I welcome you to this university. Thank you.
Oh, can we do better for the first Vice Chancellor of Christian Service University, Professor Sam Afrane? Under his leadership, this university has grown from strength to strength, and we are grateful to God for his life. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a musical interlude to relax, because today we have a lot to listen to. So let's welcome Abdum Kwa to give us one song ministration.
Come on. Teacher for headmasters, Mukamunye Juma. Tailor for hairdressers, Mukamunye Juma. Presidents, ministers, nay and peace, Mukamunye Juma. Samaye Kabo, Mamaye Kabo, Mamaye Kabo, Kabo, Yedi Enimya, Ninsi, Yo, Manye, Beyo. Samaye Kabo, Mamaye Kabo, Mamaye Kabo, 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 Yedi Nukrede, Yadi, Bayo, Kanaman, Beyo. Mamaye Kabo.
Indeed, Mumayen Kambum Nagana Beye. Let's put our hands together for Adom Kwa for such a wonderful performance. Ladies and gentlemen, you cannot run a public lecture without a chairperson. So let me take this opportunity to invite the Registrar of Christian Service University, Mr. Andrews Kingsley Doku, to tell us who the chairperson for this function is. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome him with an applause.
Thank you, MC. The Vice Chancellor, His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, our guest of honor, Nana, ladies and gentlemen, it is a privilege to introduce the chairman for this very important occasion. Before I do that, there is some special information I want to pass it on to His Excellency, so that when he goes, he knows that this is an institution of excellence with integrity. Your Excellency, in 2021, when licentiate examination was written, 2021, Christian Service University was first in the whole of Ashanti region. Among all the nursing training institutions, midwifery training institutions, Christian Service University was first. In 2022, when licentiate was written, Christian Service University was first. And in the same year, 2022, the whole country, Christian Service University was number 6. So it tells you that this is an institution of excellence with integrity. Your Excellency, the chairman for today's program is a political scientist, policy analyst, a public administration scholar. He is an associate professor and head of Department of History and Political Studies at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. He had his undergraduate degree in political science with philosophy from University of Ghana, Legon. He read the Master of Arts in International Affairs degree from Ohio University in USA, Master of Public Administration from Ohio University in USA, a Master of Political Science degree from West Virginia University, USA, and a Doctor of Philosophy in Political Science from West Virginia University in the United States of America. He has published several articles in reputable courses on public health policy, public administration, petroleum and energy policies, democracy and democratization. He has lectured at the West Virginia University Fund for several years. He is currently the president of think tanks, president of Otumfo's Fellowship, president of the Confederacy of Governance Assessment Institute, and Doctor of Politics, Director of Politics and Governance at the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security. I have the singular honor to introduce to you Professor Edward Brenya as the chairman for this program. Prof.
Registrar, thank you so much for such a warm introduction. His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, former President of the Republic of Ghana and the flag bearer of NDC for 2024 general elections. Professor Samuel Kofi Afrani, Vice Chancellor of Christian Service University. Bafo Kote Kutin Straman II, Brahmahin. Honorable Fifi Kote, General Secretary of NDC. Mr. Augustine Nanakwesti, Regional Chairman of the NDC. National, Regional, and Constituency Executive of the NDC President, former Ministers of States, former appointees, parliamentary candidates, staffs, senior members and junior members of University, Christian Service University, friends from the media, invited guests, students, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. It is a great honor to be asked to serve as a chairperson for this public lecture as part of the activities marking the 50th anniversary celebration of Christian Service University. It is even momentous to be called upon to perform this noble task when a former president of the Republic is delivering a public lecture on the theme, the sustainability of democracy in Africa, the Ghanaians' experience. Ladies and gentlemen, the topic chosen by Christian Service University for this public lecture is so important and relevant because we are living in a time when many citizens of several countries on the African continent, especially the youth, are confused and have been contemplating if democracy is the right system of government for them. This dilemma has come about due to economic hardship, massive human rights abuse, and poor governance showcased by several democratically elected governments in Africa, including Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, democracy as defined by Abraham Lincoln, a former president of the United States of America, is government of the people, for the people, by the people, for the people. Lincoln's definition can be explained as a system of government in which an administration is given sovereign powers of the people, the administration is elected by the people, and the administration works to promote the life and well-being of the people that elected it. This is what is known in real effective governance as delivering the public good. The executive and state actors owe it a duty to their people to promote their welfare. Conversely, ladies and gentlemen, Lincoln's democracy also implies that any government that fails to deliver the public good should be voted out of power by the people so as to deny them the sovereign powers to make authoritative decisions for the people. Your Excellency, in this context, where it can be said that the current administration of Ghana is government of the people because the Constitution has granted it the sovereign powers to make authoritative and binding decisions for Ghanaians, and where it can also be said that the government of Ghana is government by the people because the Electoral Commission declared it as winner of 2022 general election. The third part, which is whether the current administration is government for the people, remain questionable and in doubt. As research and policy analysis has shown that this current administration has failed in the fulfillment of delivering public goods. Ladies and gentlemen, as a political scientist and educator, I believe strongly in arming the people with requisite knowledge to enable them to make informed decisions to change their life and their environment. This is why I am thrilled with the topic for this lecture chosen by Christian Service University, and more importantly, the choice of a speaker to deliver this lecture because he comes to the podium with politics practicum. The speaker is not going to lecture us about theories, but real-life practical and impactful lesson on what Ghana has done, what Ghana is doing, and what Ghana should do to sustain our democracy. Secondly, the speaker is someone who is an embodiment of Lincoln's definition of democracy, who believes in the definition and who can be trusted to deliver Lincoln's consideration of democracy. On this note, and with all due humility, I accept to chair this august and important public lecture, and I entreat you to listen attentively so that you can obtain the requisite knowledge to make informed electoral decisions in the 2024 general election to sustain our democracy. Please note that there will be a brief question and answer section after the lecture. So jot down your questions while the lecture is ongoing. Congratulations once again, Christian Service University, for 50 years of impactful education. Thank you. And now, I have the singular honor to invite to the podium our guest speaker for today. Please, with an applause, let's invite Nana Bremahin to the podium. Thank you.
Please, let's put our hands together for our guest of honor. But before Nana speaks, let me say one or two things about Nana. Before I mention his name to you, let me say these few things. Nana started school at Bremen Roman Catholic in 1959. He pursued his secondary education at Ashimota School and did his first degree at KNUST from 1974 to 1977. Nana is a product of University of Bordeaux, France. He has done his national service, and a whole lot can be said about Nana for time's sake. Currently, he is the chief of Bremen. If you know what Bremen means for Ashantis, it's a very strategic town. With an applause, let's hear from Bafo Kote Ikuti Sraman to speak to us. Nana Pia!
Thank you very much. I know all of you are expecting me to speak Chi, but the program has been crafted in such a way that I have to speak English. Your Excellency, John Dramani Mahama, former President of the Republic of Ghana, all other protocols observed, Vice Chancellor, don't take offense at this. I don't want to be long. What I heard from the Vice Chancellor has given me an idea when John Dramani Mahama, the next president of Ghana, when John Dramani Mahama, the next president of Ghana, takes over power on the 7th of January 2025, one of his policies should be about scholarships that are given to Ghanaians to go and study abroad. Study courses that are offered here in Ghana. You know, when they send you abroad, you have a scholarship sum of $20,000. The $20,000 can be given to deserving students here in Ghana to study in our institutions, the private and the public universities. 10,000, if we do any proper calculation, can educate about 100 students. So why would you take $10,000, $20,000, and send one person to the UK, to go and study? And then while there, that is not all that they receive. There are other allowances that go to them, that goes to them. So what I would suggest is that they should embrace that policy and give scholarships to deserving students to study in Ghana instead of going abroad. One person receiving as much as $20,000. So if you send 100, just multiply 100 by $20,000 and see how much that costs our nation. Our problem is that we spend too much on very little. So I would implore His Excellency to give it a serious thought so that he can change things around in a very, very short time. The 24-hour economy . The 24-hour economy policy could be greatly helped if he takes pragmatic steps like this one. I was wondering when the chairman of the occasion was speaking, the message that he delivered today, is he going to deliver the same message tomorrow when is it? When is the vice president coming?
I may not be the chairman.
Well, he says he may not be the chairman. I wish he were. Then he would repeat the same message. Yes. Look, we are looking on at what is going on in Ghana, and our hearts bleed at some of the things that are happening. I mean, when you sit down and look and listen to what supposedly honest Ghanaians, people who are held in high esteem by everybody, speak falsehood instead of truth. I don't know why. What do we gain? The incoming president. And I believe every one of the words that I have spoken. He is coming back. Thank you very much. Medasipi. Nyame enshira mu nyina.
Oh, let's put our hands together for Nana. Ladies and gentlemen, we have one song ministration, and after that, you will hear what you want to hear. So let's welcome Adom Kwa. Please just do one quick so that we relax and listen to the message for the day. So Adom Kwa, please give us one song. Ladies and gentlemen, please let's be silent for a moment. There is time for everything, all right? All right, ladies and gentlemen, now is the moment of truth. Now is the time. How do we sustain the democracy in Africa? I don't have answers. And I believe that today, by the time we leave here, we will have answers. But to introduce the one who is going to share his perspective on the theme is none other than the General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress. He has served the party dutifully. Once upon a time, he was a member of parliament, and he is now serving in the capacity of General Secretary. With an applause, let us welcome Honorable Fifi Fiabe Kwete to introduce the guest speaker for today.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for the kind introduction. May I stand on existing protocols to say I'm grateful for the opportunity to introduce the speaker for the occasion. But before that, let me just say that we are in the very heart of the country, the very center of this beautiful nation. Even as we sang the national anthem, I felt this a place where the change and the transformation that is ahead of us must begin. And we are happy to be here to honor this very important invitation. The topic we are about to listen to is one that is very important for our country. Because as you know, from 1992 to today, we are a nation that have been known to have started a journey that the rest of Africa has admired and has applauded. Unfortunately, over the last 8 years thereabout, the beautiful journey we have been on has turned into a journey of darkness, where the freedom, the democracy of our country, virtually it's being threatened and being jeopardized. As Nana spoke, what the heart of what I listened was, why should a beautiful nation be reduced to a time where leaders do not have the ability to tell the truth? You cannot build a nation on deception. You cannot build a nation on lies. And what we have seen over the last 8 years has not just been a lot of suffering, but what makes it worse is they have added insult to our injury and our suffering. When there is doomsday, they say there is no doomsday. When there is debt crisis, they say there's no debt crisis. When there's economic crisis, they say no, there's no problem at all. Everything is perfect. And I think the speaker for today will take his time to explain to you the fact that good ideas are important, but above all, democracy and freedom must be built on leaders who have principles. And that is what it is that this leader who is about to speak embodies. A man who believes that truth must be spoken, even if speaking that truth sometimes can cost you votes. He has the ability to tell the truth. That's why in 2016, when even everybody thought that was the end of him and his party, he said, posterity will judge. And less than 8 years after, posterity truly has started judging. And on December 7, posterity will speak for him so that this country will know once and for all that truth is the bedrock on which all transformation must happen. It's my privilege today to introduce to you a servant, a man who loves his country, a man who started in the tradition of the founder of this party, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. A man who grew up and later served one of the best leaders of our country, Jerry John Rawlings, and a man who became elevated to become the vice president under one of the best, noblest leaders we have, Professor Atta Mills, a man who also happened to be a very close friend to a president who has actually contributed his quota. I'm talking about President John Agyekum Kufuor, who happens to come from this wonderful region. He's a man of great experience, a man who loves his country, a man who still has a lot to do for his country. It's unfortunate that despite all he did in the 4 years in power, almost everything has been reversed. But there is a time and a purpose, and I think his time is coming again so that he can finish the job that he started, which has not yet been completed. It's my privilege and my honor to introduce to you the incoming President of the Republic of Ghana, come December 7, 2025, the former President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama.
Papa. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let me first apologize for my voice. I'm suffering a bit of cold, and so it has robbed me of my usual voice, and so you just have to make do with what you're hearing. Let me acknowledge our chairman, Professor Edward Brenya, of the Department of History and Political Studies of KNUST, and thank him very much for accepting to chair this event. I also want to acknowledge the Vice Chancellor of this university, Professor Sam Afrani, and to thank him for the kind invitation he has given us to use this university as a platform to share our views and experiences, not only with the students here, but with the whole of the country that will be listening to this lecture. I also want to express a special appreciation to the special guest of honor, who is a very honorable royal of the Ashanti Kingdom, my friend and brother, Nanaba Fosraman II, the chief of Bremen in Ashanti. And I want to thank all of them for the words they spoke to open this event. Everybody else is a distinguished invited guest, and we appreciate that all of you have taken time off to be here with us this afternoon. The university invited me to speak on the topic Sustainability of Democracy in Africa, the Ghanaian experience. It means we're talking about Africa and how democracy can be sustained, but then narrowing down to our own country, Ghana. And so it gives me great pleasure to be here with you today for the first time in the Christian Service University, and to have the opportunity to deliver this address as part of your 50th anniversary celebration. I wish to congratulate this institution for attaining this milestone and acknowledge the significant contribution that you have made over the years to academic advancement, not only in this region, but the nation at large, the knowledge sharing, and the provision of quality human resource that you continue to produce for our nation's benefit. This program, with its theme, demonstrates your commitment to stimulating important discussion that can influence thinking in governance and nation building. And I'm delighted to have the opportunity to share a few thoughts with you on this subject. I firmly believe that democracy is the surest path to sustained progress and development for Africa, and particularly our country, Ghana. And this belief has driven me into my active involvement in democratic pursuits and governance in various capacities for over 3 decades, from the grassroots to the highest office of the land. In 6 months, we'll go to the polls for the 8th consecutive time to elect a president and 276 members of parliament. This will mark 32 years since the first election was held under the Fourth Republic. And this is the longest sustained period of democratic governance in our nation's history. Late last year, over 6,200 assemblymen and women, and even more unit committee members, were elected across the country to help local level governance. For many of our younger compatriots, democratic governance in Ghana seems routine, and we seem to take it for granted because you were born into democracy. But those of us who have been around for a while know that it has not always been the same. Ghana's transition to democracy did not come easy. Nearly a third of our 67 years as an independent nation has been spent under military dictatorships. These military governments often came to power on the pretext that democratic governance had failed to yield the desired outcomes, and they were often met with significant support from sections of the population who were tired of the corruption and poor governance of democratic governments. Some military governments made strides towards improving the country's fortunes, but overall, our experience under military regimes were clearly unpleasant. We have learned that democracy is the better system of government than unconstitutional and military rule. And yet, amid the current excruciating economic crisis, there have been troubling memories and sometimes loud expressions of a desire by a frustrated section of our citizens for a return to military rule. That some citizens, especially young people, long for the military era is concerning, but is not surprising. Such calls, especially after all the gains made in entrenching democratic culture, call for a re-evaluation of what has gone wrong. An honest introspection reveals that many feel that they have not benefited from or partaken in the democratic dividend. They do not see that democratic governance has met their aspirations and their expectations, nor do they feel that they are properly represented in decision making. Our embrace of democracy in Ghana is strong within a sub-region that is prone to volatility and conflict. In recent years, the democratic consolidation in Africa has suffered setbacks, with a disturbing relapse into the era of coup d'etats. Military strongmen have assumed government reins in Chad, in Sudan, in Gabon, in Guinea, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, and many of them with strong public support. Africa's entanglement with military rule dates back to the immediate post-colonial era of the late 50s and the 60s. Since then, there have been about 200 coups d'etats on the continent. But by the mid-80s to 1990s, many African countries had begun to shift back towards democratic governance after military rule had often worsened the circumstances they were supposed to correct. Incremental governance and economic reforms were yielding dividends, and many African economies started to make modest gains and improvements in quality of life with the return to democratic governance. This was certainly the case in Ghana. After the economic depression of the mid-70s through the mid-80s, sweeping economic reforms catalyzed by various IMF and World Bank-backed programs turned our economic fortunes around. We rose from economic depression, -0 growth, hyperinflation, shortage of basic commodities, and a free-falling currency to achieve consistent economic growth and lift millions out of poverty. By the time democratic governance was fully restored in 1992 in Ghana, we had come to expect the continuation and furtherance of these gains that had been made under the revolution. Over the last 30 years, as a democratic country, there have been periods of strong economic performance, with some of the highest growth rates in the world. Indeed, one of the highest was 14.7% under the late President John Evans Atta Mills of blessed memory. However, this democratic transition may have lulled us into a false sense of security and accomplishment. Leading us to take our eyes off the ball. Economic mismanagement, corruption, and a host of other governance issues have returned, diminishing the hopes that many citizens have in government and state institutions. We have a unique situation with a very young population, unlike before when education was scant and rare. Today, millions of our young people have acquired education and are looking forward to opportunities for jobs and personal advancement. The 2021 Population and Housing Census revealed that a staggering 33% of Ghanaians between the ages of 15 and 24 are without jobs. The unemployment situation has worsened as several multinational companies have decided to relocate from Ghana to neighboring countries due to the deteriorating economic situation in our country. Ghanaian businesses are also collapsing as their operations are becoming unsustainable, buffeted by a rapidly depreciating currency, soaring interest rates, and high taxes and tariffs. Ghana. It is a reflection of the adversity into which our nation has been plunged. Otherwise, there's no basis of comparison between a visa and a PhD. A PhD is about learning and education. A visa is an opportunity to travel and reside somewhere. But you forget that where you are residing, there are people with PhDs too. And the comparison is not between their PhDs and the fact that you are residing in their country. Learning and education is the most important resource a human being can acquire. And if you had a PhD and you had an opportunity to travel, you'll be a more high-value citizen in that country that you have gone to. And so there's no basis. It's like comparing apples and what fruit should I use? Normally they use oranges. Like apples and aluguntugui. And so that debate should not be taking place at all. It's taking place because of the crisis into which this government has plunged our country. And in the debate, I note that an overwhelming majority have opted for obtaining passports and a visa to travel. And this signals a complete loss of confidence and hope in the future of our country. What this teaches us is that a democracy that does not lead to qualitative improvements in the lives of the people holds no meaning for them. With the national spirit sinking to an all-time low and hopelessness engulfing our country, a change in governance and direction has become absolutely imperative. Therefore, I've decided to run for office as president in this election. I believe that my experience and disposition are needed at this moment of crisis to provide the kind of leadership that can address the myriad challenges we're facing as a nation. I'm keenly aware of the weight of expectation that will rest on the shoulders of the next government, given the dire economic situation in which we find ourselves. Real work must go into winning back the trust of our people, to winning back their trust in democratic governance and its structures. In my campaign for the presidency this year, I focused on communicating well-considered policy options to restore strength to our economy and create jobs for our restless youth. Among these proposals are the 24-hour economic policy, which aims to use an incentives-based approach to catalyze round-the-clock economic activity for expansion and job creation. And for those who say they don't understand it, however much you explain, they say we don't understand. Assume that this university was operating only from 8 o'clock to 5 in the evening. How many students will be able to study here? Today, this university has about 2,000 students, because while some are closing from the day lectures, others are coming in the evening and studying. And so it allows them to take on more students than the capacity of this university otherwise would have taken if they were running only a day session. It makes it simple to understand. If you have one factory, it can produce only a certain amount of products from 8 o'clock to 5. And it can employ only a certain amount of people. If you want to use the same capacity to employ more and produce more, then one shift closes, another shift comes in and continues working. I don't know what is so difficult to understand about this. And we're saying that we will give them the incentives to do it. It's going to be the private sector. You have a factory and you want to run the 24-hour economy. You want to sign on to the 24-hour economy. We will give you incentives to be able to do so. If you need credit, we will assist you with credit. If you need tax breaks, we will assist you with tax breaks. We will provide you with security so that you can work without fear of being attacked. We will provide transport services so that people can get to work at any time of the day. For all those who have traveled, you see 24-hour economy at work in all the countries that you go to. Those countries never sleep. They are working day and night. And we're saying that with the crisis that we're confronted with in Ghana, if we continue a single shift system, it's going to take us decades to turn this economy around. And so we need to run faster. And the only way we can run faster is to add on to our productivity. And we can only add on to our productivity if we work day and night. The 1 million coders program is aimed at creating additional digital jobs for our young people. Why has India become the software capital of the world? If you go to Bangalore, there are young people writing programs for the whole world, in banking, in agriculture, in every sector of the economy. We can do the same if we train our young people to be able to do it. And so the 1 million coders program will be aimed at creating additional digital jobs for our youth. And we intend to spend $3 billion investments in information and communication technologies. Sound and prudent economic management founded on broad and far-reaching governance and economic reform will take root in Ghana under the new leadership of the NDC. My number one priority will be to stabilize the economy and halt the deterioration in the value of the cedi against other currencies. Our economic policy will be geared towards sustainable growth with an equitable distribution of the proceeds of growth amongst our citizens. The basic structure of our economy, reliant on raw material exports with little or no value addition, is no longer tenable. Significant growth and wealth creation cannot be realized from this, and we will not be able to provide for the needs of our people if we continue like that. We will work to restore our traditional export sector back to their past glory. Incentives for cocoa farmers to increase exports and turn the sector around to take advantage of the improved world market prices would also be a priority for us. Today, the cocoa sector has collapsed. We are barely producing 500,000 tons. In our time, we produce almost 1 million tons, double what we're producing today. And so we'll give incentives to the farmers to be able to look after their farms and increase their production. We will also increase production in our oil and gas sector. The last 8 years have been wasted years. Not one single oil well has been brought on stream. When we came into office, there was only one oil well, the Jubilee Field. During the four years of my presidency, we worked and brought 2 more oil fields, the 10 field and Jinyame Sankofa, back on stream. We brought 2 new oil wells on stream. And so we handed over 3 new producing wells, 1 old well and 3 new producing wells to the MPP administration. They have not added a single one in 8 years. And we all know that this is the transition period for oil and gas because the world is going into green energy. So every country that has oil and gas is pumping it like there's no tomorrow. And yet we have wasted 8 years. If we're not careful and we don't bring these producers back on stream and take advantage of our oil and gas sector, the world will make the transition and our gas and oil will become what they call stranded assets. And so we're going to work to bring the operators back. E&I have run away to Cote d'Ivoire because this government harassed them until they had to leave. We're going to bring all of them back and get them to work as fast as possible so that we can take advantage of the resource that God granted us. We will seek to take greater control of our natural resources and move towards processing such resources while attracting investments into areas such as farming, industry, agribusiness, tourism, and the rapidly growing digital sector. There will be promotion of new value-added export items such as oil palm, salt, cotton, soya, textiles, ginger, cashew, cassava products such as ethanol and starch. This will increase our export potential and bring in more foreign exchange so that it can lead to a stable currency. Corruption and the abuse of office to the detriment of citizens will not be tolerated. I will not be a clearing agent. The anti-corruption institutions will work without political interference. Persons who have involved themselves in looting the resources of the state should expect to be prosecuted and imprisoned. There will be greater transparency and accountability in the way that government operates. Our citizens, especially the youth, will feel a sense of ownership of governance, and their voices will matter. Institutional reforms will be a focus on strengthening governance systems that deliver desired outcomes. We will curtail the excessive politicization of institutions such as the judiciary, the Electoral Commission, and other independent constitutional bodies through major constitutional reforms. We will also rein in the phenomenon of bloated government and replace it with a much leaner one. We will not have 125 ministers. We will have not more than 60 ministers. Attendant governance costs like payments of utility bills, fuel, and ex gratia payments will be cancelled. The Big Push program will channel investments into a Priority Investments Program, PIP, to cover infrastructural projects in the area of roads, bridges, dams, railways, aviation sector, telecommunications, manufacturing, healthcare, education, power, tourism, water and sanitation, agriculture, and agribusiness. We expect that this will involve investments of about 150 billion Ghana cedis over a 5-year period in priority infrastructural projects to boost economic growth and prosperity. We cannot have a true democracy without equitable treatment of all our citizens. All our people must be treated equally, irrespective of their ethnic, religious, or partisan affiliation. The President will live up to his oath of office of doing justice to all manner of persons. We cannot sustain our democracy without a healthy and conducive environment. I will ban all mining in forest reserves. Because I believe that many of those trees in the forest reserves that are more than 500 to 700 years old are more precious assets than any mineral wealth that lie underneath them. We will promote responsible mining and make sure our water bodies become clean again. We intend to make Ghana a hub for education. When I was president, a lot of foreign students used to come from other West African countries to seek higher education here in Ghana. Unfortunately, that has changed. We will work to make that happen again. And I believe that this is one of the benefits private universities like Christian Service University can take advantage of. Because when foreign students come, they will pay you in dollars, and Vice Chancellor Afrani has a lot of use for that kind of money. And so we'll make Ghana an educational hub and attractive so that foreign students will come from other countries. We'll continue our policy of making Ghana a health hub so that other persons in Africa seeking medical treatment will find Ghana the preferred location. This was the reason for promoting the construction of the Bank Hospital, the International Maritime Hospital, the University of Ghana Medical Center, and all the other hospitals that we built. It was to attract our neighbors who have medical issues to come and seek treatment here instead of traveling to Europe and other places. And so we'll continue that program. We'll make Ghana a tourism hub by developing our tourism sites We'll create amusement parks, water parks, enhance all our waterfalls and other tourist attractions so that people will come and enjoy taking a holiday here in Ghana rather than going to other destinations. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not different from other countries in terms of our potential for growth and prosperity. Bad governance, poor leadership, and a string of historical factors have limited our potential. But a new dawn is on the horizon, one in which the very best of us, the very best in all of us, will shine through, in which we put out our very best foot forward. My track record of delivery is self-evident and will no doubt be considered by voters in the election to come. Ability and performance are vital prerequisites for leadership, especially in times of multiple crises as we are facing now. But more importantly, respect for the citizen, honesty and candor, decency and character must count for something. The upcoming elections will be the most crucial for Ghana in living memory. These elections could make or break us. It is a make and break for our country. They can determine the difference between continuing the unsustainable path of poor governance, which will surely lead us to fall off the cliff, or alternatively, charting a new path towards restoring the soul of our nation and reviving the hope and confidence of the Ghanaian spirit. The leadership of Ghana and the office of president are weighty and must be approached with the utmost seriousness. Ghanaians are in dire straits, and this is not the time for comedy. This is not the time Ghanaians are in dire straits, and this is not the time for comedy. This is not the time for concert party about passing a mythical steer to somebody. There is no space for stale falsehoods and gaslighting. Those trivializing the suffering and pain of Ghanaians and reducing important matters of governance to empty slogans and desperate promises cannot come near the leadership of this country. Those whose glaring failures at economic management have sucked us into this vortex of despair, despite their lofty talk in opposition, and who now seek to flee from responsibility, cannot be rewarded with the presidency of a nation in such deep crisis. And it is unimaginable to think that some claim that it's better to have an economy that has defaulted on debt, causing over 1 million bondholders, including elderly pensioners, to suffer financial haircuts, still would try to convince Ghanaians that they are in a much better position than one in which debt servicing was done timeously, without defaults, and when nobody suffered any financial loss. The presidency cannot be handed over to those who present themselves as the future, when they have been the epicenter of our disastrous present. The presidency cannot be handed over to those who present themselves as the future, when they have been the epicenter of our disastrous present. The narrative by some people that they have championed everything under this government, and at the same time are not responsible for anything under the same government because they were self-styled driver's mate, is simply not tenable, and is an insult to the intelligence of the electorate. In one breath, they championed everything under this government. In the next breath, they are not responsible for anything that happened under this government because they were driver's mates. This is an insult to the intelligence of Ghanaians. In the end, sustainability of democracy anywhere in the world, including Africa and also in Ghana, boils down to one word: leadership. Leadership that is honest and accepts responsibility for challenges rather than passing the buck is the kind of leadership that sustains democracies. One that is not enamored of sophistry and sloganeering. One that levels with the people and carries them along on the arduous task of resetting our country is the kind of leadership we need for a sustainable democracy. We may have this last opportunity to restore the faith of our people in the fact that democracy can work for them. We are sitting on a powder keg of youth resentment and frustration and despair, and we cannot afford to miss this opportunity to change the wrong trajectory on which this nation is currently on. On my part, I have the utmost faith and belief in the Ghanaian people to make the right choices at the polls that are coming in December to signal the beginning of a new dawn where we can make a clean break with the undesirable governance of the last 8 years. It is then and only then that we can begin to reap the true dividends of democracy and regain the trust of our people in our democracy's viability and worth. This is the only way to sustain Ghana's democracy. I thank you all for your kind attention, and may God bless us all.
All right, please. All right. Please, let's be seated. Let's put our hands together one more time for His Excellency, the former President, John Dramani Mahama. At this moment, honorable members, ladies and gentlemen, I would have wished that we do not have this session because in his opening comments, he mentioned the fact that he is under the weather. But since this is a public lecture, we'll still have the opportunity to ask one or two questions for His Excellency to respond to. So, Mr. Chairman, maybe you moderate it for us. Yes. All right. I've been signaled that we are allowed for only two questions or concerns, only two. So please, those two who will get up to the front first are the ones I will give them the opportunity. Please, if it is a comment, no. You are here. All right. We have Boasiako entry from Media General.
Your Excellency, the former President, please, election disputes in Africa and the world poses a threat to democratic governance in Ghana as a whole. So as a leader of a major politician party, what will be your plan to ensure election free in Ghana? Thank you.
All right, we will take one more. Yes, Dr. Yensu here wants to.
Please, thank you very much. His Excellency, the former president of Ghana, the flag bearer of the NDC, and then the president of Ghana 2025 January. Please, my question that I'm coming to ask you has been answered, but it's important because we have a leader who always brings in a policy that is not there, something that will address a problem in this country. And the new policy that you have actually stated is the 24-hour economy, which we all know that it will address so many issues in this country and that will grow our economy. Please, His Excellency, your policy is well embraced. I just want to ask, how would this policy address the unemployment situation in our country, where you made a statement that you have a lot of our citizens traveling outside the country because we have no jobs? And I believe this one will address the issue. But I want you, for the sake of the public, to understand how this policy will address the unemployment problem. Thank you very much.
All right, we will take two more. Mr. Eche. And then you'll be.
Okay. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, you mentioned in your address that you use digitalization as a means of job creation. And research has also shown that digitalization has the potential to strengthen democratic sustainability by increasing participation, transparency, and empowerment. Digitalization also poses significant challenge that needs to be carefully managed to ensure it does not undermine the democratic values. Your Excellency, my question is, does Ghana have the requisite digital infrastructure for an immediate takeoff? Thank you very much.
All right, the last one, my brother, last one.
Thank you very much. I'm a former student of Christian Service University College. I read development planning and currently doing a master's degree in development policy and planning. Sir, my question is simple. You talked about the big push, and last 4 years, this same thing came up. And I just want to find out, yes, Ghanaians are crying, our economy is broke. I would want to find out, how would Your Excellency raise money? Because we know that, yes, for projects, we can see the evidence is there. But how are you going to really raise money, talking about the book push, to really construct these new roads, these new markets, this edifice that you're going to talk about? Thank you I had a second question, but...
Thank you very much. The first question was relating to election disputes and how they lead to civil unrest. It is true, there are several circumstances in which election disputes have led to civil war. And a typical example is what happened in Côte d'Ivoire. You remember when there was the election that was disputed between President Ouattara and President Gbagbo. It led to a conflict, and several people lost their lives. And so, yes, elections have the potential to lead to the disruption of the peace. And that is why we emphasize that elections must be transparent, free, and fair. And if elections must be transparent, free, and fair, it needs a neutral arbiter. It needs a non-partisan referee who would be fair, transparent, and neutral between the political parties. Afraijan was the electoral commissioner with several of his deputies, and he conducted several elections. Up till today, Afraijan is respected as one of the best electoral commissioners in the whole of Africa. Charlotte Osei was appointed by me as electoral commissioner. And yet, in the election that she supervised, I lost. And that points to fairness and non-partisanship. That election was conducted. Up to today, MPP describe it as the best and fairest election that has ever been held. In 2020, a lot of things went wrong. And we don't accuse the Electoral Commission for nothing. There were circumstances that we have raised over and over again about the Electoral Commission not being neutral. Indeed, it might also be the fact that this government concocted reasons to remove the 3 electoral commissioners and replace them with people of their choice. Some of those who were appointed to the commission are people with known NPP credentials. Even though the president has the power to appoint, you must make sure that the person you appoint has no iota or evidence of partisan political affiliation. But this president doesn't care. People who were patrons of TESCON today are sitting on the Electoral Commission. If you go to Bono and ask, one of the commissioners, deputy commissioners at PAJ, was their elections director, he was their IT director, he was their communication, one of their communicators. Today he's sitting on the Electoral Commission. How do you expect somebody like that to be fair and neutral? And so, not only in terms of the appointment, but also in terms of acts of omission and commission, this Electoral Commission has shown that it cannot be neutral. A commissioner said that NDC was the most serious existential threat to Ghana's democracy. A commissioner, and he's still a commissioner. He described NDC as the biggest existential threat to Ghana's democracy. And he's still there. How do you expect somebody like that to conduct a free and fair election? And so we need, despite the adversity, that the Electoral Commission would do its best to prove me wrong in this election. We are not asking them to rig any election for us. We're just asking them to be free and fair and let the will of the Ghanaian people prevail. That's all we're asking for. But, like Azuma Nelson said, this time we're going into the ring with our own referee. And that is what happened when Azuma went to fight Jeff Fenech in Australia. And Ghanaians were upset with Azuma because he accepted to go and fight in Australia. And he said Ghanaians shouldn't worry, and that he's going into the ring with his own referee. And everybody was confused who his referee was. And he said his referee are his punches, and that he will punch Jeff Fenech to the extent that when the man is down, you can't declare him the winner. And truly, that's what he did. I think it was round 5. Jeff Fenech was on the floor. He couldn't get up. Which referee will come and say that Jeff Fenech won the fight? So we're going into this battle with our own referee. We will punch the MPP down so hard that the Electoral Commission cannot and will never declare them as winners. We will emerge, I'm certain of it. There are many establishments that are running beyond an 8 to 5, especially if you go into the mining sector. A lot of them run beyond 5 o'clock, and so they work into the night. But there are many other businesses that have the capacity to do the same, but are not doing the same because of certain reasons. For some of them, it's security. For instance, there are filling stations that can work through the night. When I was a young man growing up, filling stations didn't used to close. At any time of the night, you go to a filling station, they are working, and you can buy fuel. Today is not the same. And if you ask the filling station owners, the main issue is security, because armed robbers will attack them. And so we're asking, can we provide them with security? Can we take more of our young people into the security services so that at night they can make sure that these pharmacies and filling stations and others are working? The industries that are producing, there are pharmaceutical industries producing, they work from 8 to 5. They can produce more if we give them the right incentive. And I've said that we should buy local drugs from our local pharmaceuticals. It's only when we have exhausted their production that we should buy imported drugs. And if the whole of Ghana were buying our own drugs from our own pharmaceutical companies, wouldn't they want to employ more people to work at night to produce more pharmaceuticals? That is the basic sense behind the 24-hour economy. That we will add on additional productivity and labor so that we can create more employment for our young people. We can produce more for our own country, and we can produce more under the African Continental Free Trade Area for export to other African countries. We built the infrastructure for digitalization, but you never can say that you are finished building it. You need the infrastructure for the software and applications to run on. And that's why under my presidency, we laid the longest fiber in the history of this country. 700 kilometers long, running through 21 districts. And that is why today 21 districts have high-speed fiber broadband connectivity. We did the National Data Center, a tier rack digital center that has enough space to keep all the data of all our institutions, both public and private, and preserve them and keep them safe. We introduced so many digital applications to make life easier for our people. And so, as I said in my speech, we're going to continue to roll out the digital infrastructure. In our manifesto, we talked about the 5G, which is where countries are moving to. And so moving to 5G, upgrading 3G to 4G, 4G to 5G is something that we have to do so that we're able to keep pace with the rest of the world. Digitalization makes life simpler. For instance, I'll give you a lot of young people who want to enter the security services. There's no reason why each security service we should apply online separately for immigration, for military, for police, for national security. We'll make it a one-stop shop. You want to enter the security services, you fill one online form, and there you make a choice: army, police, immigration, prisons, fire service. You choose which security service you are interested in going into. So that you don't have to pay multiple amounts of money for every security service application. And so these are some of the reforms we are considering. But we'll continue to roll out fiber, we'll continue to roll out the platforms so that we can run our digital applications on. But government doesn't have to do everything. The private sector can also establish its digital platforms so that they can provide a service. And there are many Ghanaian companies that are doing so, and we'll encourage them to continue to do so. The big push is going to be financed through our resources from multilateral partners and resources from bilateral partners. And so the thing about the big push is about prioritization. We're going to choose the most pressing infrastructural projects that will create transformation for this country. And that is why I mentioned the various sectors in which we're going to look. The first source of funding is going to come from the annual budget funding amount, which is the ABFA. And that is money that we get from our from proceeds of our oil and gas sales. And so that's going to be the first. The 70% annual budget funding amount is going to be reserved for transformational infrastructure. And then all other multilateral support that we get from Afri-Exim Bank, from World Bank, from all the other multilateral agencies, African Development Bank, will all be geared towards that priority infrastructure project. And then also we have funds that will become available to us, like the Heritage Fund. It was supposed to be locked for 15 years. It will become available to Ghana in 2025 because we started from 2010 and it has accumulated $1.5 billion. And so we all have to decide as a nation, because it was Heritage Fund, it was for future generations, and it's been locked for 15 years. So that money, when it's unlocked, we have to decide how we're going to use it. Are we going to build a highway? We're going to finish the Eastern Corridor Road, building a railway, Western Railway line. We have to decide how we use it so that that infrastructure will be there for generations and future generations yet unborn. So these are all sources of funding that we envisage will be able to send a big push going. Aside from that, we'll cut waste. I mean, spending money to go and build one village, one dams, that do nothing. There's none of those 1V, 1D where I've seen dry season agriculture taking place, because they were not fit for purpose. That's why we asked them, are they dugouts or they are dams? Because dams are different from dugouts. Dugouts are for animal watering, and then also for household use, for things like washing and things like that. But dams are different. You can use them for dry season agriculture. And they didn't answer the question. So finally, we see that it was some small ponds that they were digging. And so if we cut the waste of spending money in those areas, the money all these development authorities are wasting, and we put them into transformational projects, we'll be able to change the face of this country in terms of infrastructure and generate economic prosperity for our people. I think that's 4 questions. Thank you very much.
All right, only 2 and we are done. Only 2. Yes. Only 2 and we are done. Yes.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, please don't be scared by my name, because I'm not the notorious one. However, my name is Oforiata, a journalist working with Class Media Group. I believe that we cannot claim to be practicing democracy if and when the will of the people is likely to be subverted. However, in about 2 weeks ago, Your Excellency, you issued a statement alleging some machinations that are likely to take place in this year's elections. In fact, in the said statement, you did indicate that regions likely to be affected are Ashanti and Eastern regions. Your Excellency, you lead a political party that is being represented at all levels. Now, my simple and harmless question is that you were about to answer my question, but I wasn't convinced. Please, can you assure the whole nation that in this year's election, every vote cast in your favor will be counted? Thank you very much.
Yes, Excellency, my name is Bill Gates Sapon, then President of Christian Service University. And my question is, what role does leadership play in maintaining democratic stability in Ghana?
Please, order. We are done. Please, let's listen to His Excellency.
Same President, you asked me the question that was the basis of this lecture. I don't know if you want me to repeat the whole lecture again. Like I said, leadership is the critical ingredient to sustainable democracy. You can have the best constitution. You can have the best regulations and laws. If you have an unscrupulous leader who decides to come and take advantage of the situation, he will do so. And if he does, if he doesn't have a population that is able to push back and hold him in check, then he'll get away with it. America is the world's leading democracy. Today, with some of the things that happened under the former president, especially the storming of the Capitol after the election had been lost, I mean, you think that America's democracy is so strong that it will be impossible for a president to incite people to storm the Capitol when he had lost an election. Yet it happened. And that's what I'm saying. Even the best democracies, if you get a leadership that wants to take advantage of a certain situation and is not honest to the people, is not dedicated to the people, does not have love of country, then you have things like this happening. And so leadership is it. You must have a leadership that is honest, that is prepared to tell the people the truth. Unfortunately, this current administration thrives on propaganda. They will spin everything, even when you're suffering. They'll tell you you are living the best of times. That's what they're telling Ghanaians. That yes, there's crisis, but you are better off today than you were in 2016. I mean, what logic, what sense? We lived the life. We lived here in 2016. We know how our lives were. And yet you come and tell me that when I haven't eaten because I can't afford 5 cedis kenke, I'm better off than when kenke was 1 cedi and I could afford it. But that is the MPP administration for you. Even when your lights are going off, they say it's because all the transformers in the country all of a sudden are full and jammed. And so they are going to CSU the transformers. I mean, so when did all the transformers in the country get jammed? Because I can understand that one transformer or one substation has a problem. But all of a sudden, it's occurring everywhere in the country. So all the transformers, all of a sudden, become jammed. So it's not doom, so it's doom CSA. But the person who said it forgets that in Twi, CA means to hide. So when you're hiding doom, so when you have doom, so and you're hiding it, it becomes doom CSA. I just say, a doom no ACA, a doom also a CA. That's what he said. He didn't realize it. Subversion of the will of the people. That is one of the key factors that undermines democracy. If the will of the people is not expressed and upheld. And so if you find tricks, rigging, and other forms of being able to subvert the will of the people, then eventually you end up undermining the democracy that you believe you are practicing. And that is what happens when the Electoral Commission is not neutral or the other party is bent on rigging the elections. When I spoke about rigging, and I said that we have evidence that some rigging took place, it's because we've studied the results in different parts of the country. And we have gone to do a post-mortem. And some of those places that I spoke about, our opponents got 380 votes. And we got 5 or 7. And I mean, it just doesn't make sense. And it's repeated in several locations. And so we sent teams there to find out. At least we have 9-member executives in every branch. How is it that we can get 3 votes or 5 votes in a branch? So it means some of our own executive voted against us. And so we said, let's go and find out what happens there. And the stories, you won't believe them. In places, it's intimidation. If you come and vote, you NDC people, we will deal with you. And so people don't come out. In some places, it is manipulation of the results and the pink sheets. In some places, it's inducements of the officers at the electoral station so that people can do what they want. And so we are approaching this scientifically. We have studied where the pattern of rigging takes place, and we're going to make sure that we put the right quality of agents who understand the electoral process so that it won't happen again. You remember in Kumawu, there was an incident where when the voting had just started, the party agents had already signed the pink sheet. How is that possible? Why would you sign a pink sheet before the voting has even been done? And that is what we are pointing at. Those are some of the tricks that happen. But I'm saying that this time we are alive to our responsibility, that we also must use the instruments provided by the electoral system to make sure that the election is free, fair, and transparent. And we're going to do that. And that's why I'm saying we would enter the ring with our own referee, because we'll take advantage of every instrument that we are afforded to be able to police the poll, to make sure that that vote you cast for me will be protected and it will count. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, all too soon, we have come to the end of this program. But before we end the program with the program courtesies, I want to invite the chairperson to make his closing remarks. So with an applause, let's welcome Professor Brenya to make his closing remarks.
Wow. Wow. What words of wisdom. A democracy that does not lead to qualitative improvement in the life of the people holds no value for the people. Your Excellency, thank you for that thoughtful public lecture. May I ask a question?